My youngest boy. Yeah. His body's out in the car. He strangled him. Hold on. You have a dead body in your car right now, yes. Right. Meet 53-year-old Indian immigrant, Shankar Nagupa, just calmly cruising through California, while his son's rotting corpse sits right in the back seat. What detectives don't realize yet, this dark road trip only started after he systematically murdered the rest of his family over 6 long days. How exactly did you hang them? You hanged them, right? But how were you able to do that? What felt like a mental break or pure hallucination slowly morphs into a real confession. He had just pulled off one of the most gruesome, cold, and calculated family massacres these detectives would ever witness. Early October 2019, a true nightmare started unfolding behind closed doors in a quiet Roseville, California apartment. Over the course of a few days, Shankar brutally murdered his wife and 2 of his kids on B1. Each killing happened in dead silence, totally ignored by everyone outside. The most chilling part, life inside that apartment just kept going. The blinds stayed shut. The neighbors suspected absolutely nothing, while his oldest boy was still alive in there, walking the halls, completely clueless about the horror around him. Almost a week later, on October 13th, 2019, this dark final chapter left the apartment. Shankar packed up his oldest boy for a long drive north, heading straight for Mount Shasta. Leaving Roseville, he drove about 277 miles. A brutal road trip lasting almost 4 hours and 20 minutes, pushing deep into the empty rural stretches of Sisu County, California. Out on that isolated highway, miles from anyone, he took that final life. But after murdering his oldest son in the backwoods of Sisu County, Shankar didn't run away. Instead, he just kept driving another 40 miles to Mount Shasta. Then he strolled into the local police station and confessed. He wasn't running from the cops at all. He was marching right up to their front desk. What unfolded inside that interrogation room made detectives wonder, was this actual guilt or just another cold calculation? All right, let's just take it from the top. Okay, who are you exactly? My name is Shankar Khan. S.H. Got any identification on you right now? It's out in the car. What's in the car? All right. How do you spell your name? S.H.A.N.K.A.R.K.A.R. Got it. Last name H.A.N.G.U.D. All right. So you just told me that I'm turning myself in for murdering my wife and 3 kids. Excuse me. Right. So what was your wife's actual name? G.J.O.T.H.I. Got it. And you mentioned your 3 kids, yes. Okay. So about the 3 children, what were all their names? Yeah. The oldest boy is Barun. B.A.R.U.N.B.A.R.U.N. All right. Did all this happen down in Roseville? Sir? Yes. Roseville, California. Okay then. And when exactly did this happen? 7th, 8th, and 9th. The 7th, 8th, and 9th of this month. This month. Right. Sir. Thank you. Okay. How did you I hang them? You hang them. Okay. But how were you physically able to hang them? And then the 4th person. My 3rd child. His body is sitting in the car, totally strangled. Wait a second. You have a body in your car right now, yes. Okay. All right. No. Just hold on. We will. The car is parked right over by the fire station. Okay. Are there any deadly weapons I should be worried about? Do you have anything on you? Just 2 knives. I thought about killing myself, but then I said, no, that's completely wrong. I really shouldn't. I need to turn myself over to justice. For them, I truly should suffer. All right. Do you mind if I pat you down super fast, just making sure you aren't hiding weapons? Okay, sure. How about you turn around for me real quick, all right? No problem at all. All right. If you don't mind, Mom, step right here. Okay. No, you're totally fine. All right. So, why don't you point out exactly where the car is, okay? I've got a gas lighter. Sorry. I have a lighter? Some cash? No. That's completely fine. Why don't you show me where your car is parked? Sure. Okay. Should I leave it here? Hey, Sergeant. He is reporting a possible 1144 in a vehicle just down the street. An 1144 in a car down the road. All right. I need you to turn around for me. Good. Yeah. Okay. I am just detaining you for now. I need to go check out your vehicle. Where exactly is it parked? Right next to the gas station. A red Mazda. A red Mazda by the gas station. Yeah, the gas station. Go check that out. All right. I have the keys. Sergeant, take these. Pop open the trunk. He is giving us full permission. Check the trunk. Actually, inside the car. Just sitting in the car. Yeah. Male or female? A male. A 20-year-old boy. Let us step inside here. Good. Hey, Yude. Could you grab his spare change over there for me? Appreciate it. All right. Let me look here. Actually, we will walk you right this way. Good. Now we're going to take a right up ahead. Okay. Oh, yeah. We will get you some water in a second. Just take a seat right here. Okay. Sounds good. Right. Jude, you want me to just Miranda him? Nope. Nah. No. All right. Just take a seat right there. Okay. Okay. Yep. All right. We are gonna hang tight here. Okay. Sir. Just let him know. By now, the brutal confession was undeniable fact. Shankar had already confessed to coldly slaughtering his own family. Now, detectives desperately needed the exact timeline. They had to know how this nightmare unfolded, the brutal sequence, and every choice he made. As the interrogation pressed on, Shankar started spilling those dark details, helping investigators slowly piece together the whole horrifying picture. So, look, obviously you have been here for quite a while, and you've been sitting in a jail cell, so I need to read you your rights. Okay, obviously, it's been a pretty rough day. I really just want to figure out what exactly led you up to this breaking point, and hear from you about what actually went down today. I sat with him all day after I strangled him, weighed my options, even thought about just strangling myself too. I put them through so much pain. I deserve way worse punishment. And is that when you decided to walk in here? Yes. I actually drove right past this place. Went to the park over there with my son yesterday, just to go get some water. Saw the police right after I strangled my boy. My car barely had any gas left to keep driving down the road, and I had zero money left, just $425. I don't want the death penalty. That's way too easy. Yeah, sounds like it. I feel totally miserable for putting them through that, but I deserve the absolute worst. Strangling myself is easy. No, I don't deserve easy. Yeah, I want my brother to come claim the bodies and cremate them, but I refuse to meet with anybody. 0 visitors. No lawyers. I want permission for that. I don't want to see my brother. You really don't want to see your brother. I don't want to meet anyone. Just let him come take the bodies. As the interrogation dragged on, Shankar spoke dead calm about the dark days leading up to the murders. He described a life totally falling apart, crushing pressure, deep frustration, and a terrifying feeling of losing all control. His voice was chilling, completely deadpan. Before confessing to the murders, he made a bizarre demand. It seemed like he hoped the brutal truth would just quietly vanish. But the most chilling detail, how he discussed taking his own life, when his turn came to die, he froze. He figured checking out was too easy, buying himself time to rethink things. That brief pause had absolutely nothing to do with remorse, pure control. He needed to dictate exactly how this horror story ended. For everybody involved, his wife and kids never got that same privilege. The psychological contrast is horrifying. He kept total power for himself, while ripping it completely away from his victims. Right. I want to back things up a bit. Let's walk through the actual timeline together. Just taking it step by step, 10 times. Maybe. I'll try to recall as much as I can. Don't ask about dates, because after the 9th, I completely lost track. I don't know what today is. Think it's the 13th, or maybe the 14th. I'm honestly not sure. It's the 14th? No. You mentioned talking about this on the 3rd. You discussed it with your family. I told my kids on the 29th. Okay, the 29th was when you made those plans. On the 29th, I finally broke. I told them I couldn't find work. So, the new plan was simple. We end our lives. I actually gave them a choice to think over. They could either die right there with us, or try to survive completely on their own. My daughter wanted to live, but I knew she wouldn't stand a chance. My daughter and my youngest boy were terrified of the idea. They had their whole lives ahead. Yeah, she was actually working at Gap Kids. She went to Wood Creek Elementary. Sorry, Wood Creek High School. She was earning perfect grades this year. Please, stop being nice to me. I am not a good guy. I am a monster. Anyway, they really thought they could survive out there. I told them point blank, they didn't stand a chance. By the 10th of the month, we'd all be evicted. It is a brutal time of year to be begging on the streets. You mentioned your 2 youngest kids were pretty hesitant about this plan. Yes. And how did your oldest son feel about the whole thing? My oldest son went quiet. He completely shut down and just started doing research. He mentioned the day before yesterday that he was looking on Craigslist. He wanted to figure out exactly what it costs to live totally alone, checking out how much his own car insurance would run him. How exactly was he doing all this online research? I knew he was using his laptop. He has a personal computer back home. Where is it right now? It is at the house. Yeah, at the house. Have you gone there? Did you not see his laptop? Well, we have been driving around, so I haven't checked. Other detectives are there though. Listen, let me explain. The master bedroom is where my wife basically lived and slept. Her pet parakeet was actually still in there. To remove her body, you will need to move the birdcage first. Why exactly did your wife keep a pet parakeet? She was in constant pain, so we barely spoke. She never came downstairs anymore. About 6 weeks ago, she completely stopped eating her meals. Whenever she did feel hungry, she only asked our daughter for help. My personal interaction with my wife had basically dropped to 0. Over in the second bedroom, I always slept beside my youngest son. Down on the living room couch, my daughter and older son would sleep. It was definitely a miserable arrangement. I went back to the bedroom and told my wife we had to figure out what everything would cost, even just renting a single room. My son was working at a Cadillac dealership while trying to finish his studies. Well, he was attempting to land the job there. Actually, he already got hired. Just check his phone. You will clearly see the text messages. He basically realized that with his current pay, he couldn't afford to survive. The 2 younger kids had absolutely 0 chance. My youngest boy was completely clueless. He was only in 8th grade, rarely came home on time, and never bothered studying. He looked at me and said, "No, Dad, I can survive. I am smart and I want to finish school." Eventually, they all agreed. My older kids ended up convincing the little guy, pushed by the detectives to explain earlier events. Shankar detailed the incredibly toxic atmosphere inside the apartment. He described a completely shattered home environment. The family was totally isolated from each other. He casually listed out everyone's sleeping spots and how their daily routines fell apart. At first, the routine seemed pretty ordinary, but combined, they painted a picture of extreme emotional distance long before any violence happened. This really wasn't sudden chaos. It was total, chilling disengagement. His memory is totally cold, focusing purely on household logistics. It proves his mind had already abandoned his family. In criminal psychology, this extreme detachment usually comes right before severe violence, replacing love with cold. calculated justification. Who would normally answer that? It was always my sister or my sister-in-law answering. I believe you mentioned your wife completely ignored you until the 6th. Well, hold on a second. She refused to speak with me, but she still radiated an incredible amount of raw animosity and bitter anger. We just had constant, massive misunderstandings. Why exactly was she so angry with you? Honestly, it all traces back to my deep depression. It triggered when my own family completely rejected my wife. She absolutely despised how they treated her, and her resentment grew so bad that I was already cutting off all my personal ties. I abandoned relationships entirely and even stopped talking to my own mother. But she still complained, saying I acted exactly like my terrible brother, or telling me I behaved just like my sister-in-law. Because of that, I quit making friends and stopped speaking to anyone who would listen. I honestly thought giving up everything would make my wife happy. Instead, her pure rage turned right onto me. She was furious, constantly yelling and screaming. Between my severe depression and pure confusion, I lost my mind. Plus, she always suspected I was secretly siding with my own family over her. For years, I desperately tried putting the pieces back together. We definitely had our issues. The heavy arguments began around 2011. Wait. No. Our fights really started right from the very second day of our marriage. I genuinely did my absolute best to make things better. She had her own ideas on fixing it, and I thought my approach was smarter. And here we are now. She is dead. Right, I know she's gone. I am still alive. Let us back up. We got a little derailed there. We were just talking about the 6th. I believe that is when it was finally decided that you were actually going to kill your wife. I was just going to help her end it. Okay, yes, me killing her, right. So how exactly did that play out? I think you mentioned earlier that she was the one who tied the rope noose. Look, on the 6th, we all sat down for a nice family dinner together and then went to bed. Just a quiet meal at home. No. Or did you go out? I went and picked up food from Roseville. So you just brought the food home. Got it. And then you shared a nice dinner together. Yes. You, your wife, and all 3 of your kids were there. What exactly was the main topic of conversation at the dinner table? My daughter was just scrolling Instagram. My eldest son spoke up, saying that since he was going to die soon anyway, he wanted to use his saved up money. He told us he wanted to buy a specific video game, play it, and finally beat it. He bought it himself. I didn't. Right. Your oldest son bought it. Yes. My oldest purchased it. And then we just sat around playing the game. Around that same time, my wife was digging through my WhatsApp messages with my brother and relatives. She was obsessively checking to see if I had been cheating on her. Was I listening to their advice? Was I doing something terrible behind her back? She never believed a word I said. Zero trust. So she spent the entire night tearing through all those WhatsApp chats I had with my family members. Honestly, they weren't even real conversations. My relatives were just sending over photographs, wishing me well for some festival, saying happy birthday, stuff like that, or asking basic questions. How everyone was doing. There were probably 100 messages there. So she scrolled through all of it and actually felt pretty happy in her bedroom. It brought her peace knowing I had not done anything to betray her. I never intended harm. I never wished anything bad on anyone. Ever. Even when the detective in this room started sneezing, I politely told him, "Bless you." Anyway, at this phase in the interrogation, detectives pivoted away from the crime scene and started digging into Shankar's personal history. They stopped focusing on where the tragic events took place, but exactly how they started. The investigators were not searching for one isolated argument, but rather a deeply rooted pattern. Shankar detailed years of heavy emotional strain and bitter conflict, painting it as a constant, everyday reality. His voice stayed totally flat, proving this toxic pressure was his normal. As detectives kept pushing, it became terrifyingly clear that the murders were never impulsive. The tension had been silently mounting for years. Detectives eventually discovered that his burden was not merely an emotional one. Official court records revealed that just weeks before the killings, Shankar was crushed by a federal tax lien exceeding $178,000, a massive debt he could never escape. Once those terrifying numbers felt more real than his own family, his wife and children became nothing but simple variables in a grim decision he had already finalized. To him, it signaled total public exposure, utter failure, and the destruction of his identity as provider. From that exact moment, the bright future he pictured simply vanished. There was barely any talking left. You made it to the morning. You went to sleep. Well, for my son, Varun told me he needed a little bit of time. He really needed time. The chairs and little stools inside my house just were not tall enough for the garage. What were you trying to use? The garage door opener. Right. The main mechanical motor that opens up the big door. So the metal bracket for that unit is up there, right? Sitting right in the center? Yeah. And you were seriously going to try that. Okay. But you quickly figured out it would never support his total weight. No. I didn't realize that at all. Wait. Oh. You actually attempted to do it. Right. I honestly never realized it. But the motor was mounted too high up, and our dining chair was way too short. Okay. So, I told him we would need to go find a ladder. All right. Try that. Make sure it is not too hot. I think it just feels pleasantly warm. Picture this chilling interrogation. Who even brings up a blanket? Did they flinch at all? Probably not. Thank you. Sir? We are good. Slightly better now. So, you were heading out to grab a ladder. So, we ended up driving to Fairway. First, we hit Home Depot. All right. Just checking the prices there. So, you purchased a ladder at Home Depot. For people. And so that timeline means it happened on the night of the 8th. Oh, that was the following day. Where did you all sleep then? Upstairs. Upstairs. Instead of sleeping, I just sat there writing my thoughts. Were you writing the whole time? Yes. I was updating those chronicles I told you about, and even drafted an email to my brother. If you check my laptop, you can find that exact email. You never hit send. Though, no. Because the plan was to send it after we were all dead. Right. Or after the kids passed. Right before I planned to hang myself. But that never happened. And meanwhile, Xfinity shut off my internet connection over a missed bill. So I lost that too. So what exact time did you head to Home Depot to buy that ladder? And what specific type of ladder are we talking about? An A-frame style? No. Not one of those massive, heavy, awkward ones. More like a simple step stool. Basically a really tall step stool. Okay, so more of a compact ladder. Or a big step stool. I was looking for those giant ladders. Actually, let me retrace my steps here. Yeah, I just spent 5 whole nights sleeping outside. Exactly. Yesterday morning is when I strangled Wait. The morning of the 13th around 10:30. So mapping the timeline, by the 9th morning, you ended up in Oroville. No. The 9th morning is when I set up the rose in the chair. And that was the morning after your trip to Lowe's. I honestly cannot remember if I drove to Lowe's on the 9th or the 8th. Pretty sure it was the 8th afternoon. Got it. Okay. Then the 9th is when I actually tried it. But the rope completely snapped. What happened next? Inside Shankar's head, a dark plan started taking shape, one that only made sense to him. He started believing that if he could not fix what felt totally broken, his only real option was to take his own life, along with his entire family. For years, Shankar viewed himself as the ultimate provider, the man keeping the entire household together. His whole identity relied on success and financial stability. As that solid foundation crumbled beneath him, it felt like his entire world was collapsing right with it. Was this completely wrong? No. That is just too easy. Just explain to them how long my wife we married in 1997. For 22 years, she suffered for one reason or another. All my children are suffering now. No, I deserve worse. Sorry, it is not that simple. It is not that simple. If I die now, I could have just run away. I could have ditched the car and vanished. But I didn't do any of that. I told myself, no, and I parked right next to the police station. So you drove here, and then I just parked right next door. Can you see the car out there? I parked right outside, walked straight in, and told the front desk lady. She got a good look and saw me right then. The tragic murder timeline finally took shape. What started as confused, scattered fragments suddenly locked together into a very clear, deliberate sequence of events. These brutal killings didn't happen all at once. They slowly unfolded across several horrifying days. The first tragic deaths happened on October 7th, 2019, inside their Roseville apartment. Shankar murdered his wife and one of their younger kids, followed by another child's death the very next day in that same home, ending a full week of pure horror. On October 13th, 2019, Shankar took his oldest son on a long drive, over 200 miles north toward Mount Shasta. Somewhere along that dark highway, he strangled the boy to death. What exactly do you think should happen to someone who commits murder? It should actually be inside my letter. I wrote down that the penalty for murdering innocent people is death, and I am giving it to myself. You said you looked that up. I wrote that up. Oh, you wrote it, yeah. It is right there on my laptop. You seem to be thinking very clearly about this whole process. Yes, I planned out exactly what was going to happen. I could not even tell you how many jobs I applied for. Right? They just told me no. What kind of work were you actually doing before? I was supposed to be a data architect, managing data. But let's just forget about job titles. What was that? Let's not worry about official titles right now. Have you ever been diagnosed with any mental health issues? As investigators listened, one terrifying fact became obvious. This was not some sudden psychotic breakdown. No panic in his voice. Zero frantic excuse. Just a guy calmly breaking down his own logic, explaining a choice he made long before he ever walked into that interrogation room. Shankar sounded like a man who genuinely believed he owned the absolute right to control everything around him. His life, his family, even their deaths. It was this chilling, toxic mix of intense pride, patriarchy, and extreme pressure. The exact kind of mindset where one guy decides he knows what is best for everyone, even if it literally destroys them. 2 years after the murders, this true crime case finally went to court. In September 2021, Shankar Nagupa Hung pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder for killing his children, plus 1 more charge for the death of his wife. That guilty plea instantly shut down any chance of a trial, forcing him to formally accept responsibility for the horrific crimes. Sentencing came down in November 2021. The judge handed him 3 consecutive life sentences, without the possibility of parole. Prosecutors made it perfectly clear these killings were not sparked by some random emotional snap. Instead, they were a series of cold, calculated, and deliberate acts dragged out over several days. Today, Shankar sits in a cell under the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, and that is exactly where he will rot for the rest of his natural life. This story delivers a deeply unsettling but important truth. When pressure, pride, and despair go unchecked, they can distort a person's sense of reality and morality. What begins as stress or failure can slowly turn into something far more dangerous when someone believes they must control everything, including the lives of others. At its core, this tragedy is not just about violence, it's about disconnection. A family that once shared a home became emotionally distant, silent, and isolated. Over time, that silence allowed pain to grow unchecked, turning love into detachment and responsibility into cold calculation. There is also a powerful lesson about seeking help. No matter how overwhelming life becomes, financial struggles, mental health battles, or personal failure, there is always a path forward that does not involve harming others. Strength is not found in control, but in reaching out, in admitting vulnerability, and in choosing compassion over destruction. This case reminds us that no one has the right to decide another person's fate. Every life holds value, even in the darkest moments. The message is clear: protect your mind, speak your pain, and never let despair convince you that ending life is a solution. Because even in hardship, hope still exists, and it is always worth fighting for.